Hello, peeps. It's time for another Weekender, but before we get stuck into the show, I'm going to tell you about a most excellent board game you could win. This week, we're giving away the new Bill and Ted Riff in Time board game from Warcry Studios. Is this your chance to go back in time, or is it forward in time? Either way, it's a trip down memory lane. And if that wasn't enough, we're also giving away the truly epic expansion as well. Okay, so for your chance to win, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get a comment in down below, right? Let's get this show on the road. Hey peeps, welcome to the show. As ever, I'm joined by the gorgeous Ben and Gerry. Tasty boys, Ben and Gerry.
Very God, tasty boys. I don't like that.
Yeah, the tasty boys. That's it. Going forward, you are now the tasty boys.
Oh no,
makes sense.
And speaking of tasty, we'll have Justin on the show later. He'll be on to go through some Kickstarters and stuff with us, and we're gonna have Free on to go through the Lockdown Leisure League and see what you guys have been up to in the last week. Oh, I hope you got your hashtags in, because it's like come to a close. We're gonna have a look at the last of the sort of winners and see what you guys were getting up to. But before we get stuck into all of that, remember, we have an awesome prize, an epic board game to give away. And remember, we're giving away the expansion as well, which we didn't actually show off. So I'm going to bring it up now so you can have a wee peek at what's in the expansion. Actually, I'll start with the main box, because we have unboxings and stuff for this, but if I give you a quick flash now. So Gerry, I believe that you and Justin have a Let's Play out for this as well.
We do indeed. A most excellent Let's Play.
Oh, most excellent Let's Play.
There was no air guitar. There may have been a San Dimas High School football runs at the end, though, mind you. So, yeah, so we plowed through a game of it. We used the miniatures from the expansion because, as you can see, it comes with 10 personages of historical interest, but they're standees.
Yeah. Oh, so you've used these.
So we cracked open the box, which also has Rufus in it if you have a fifth player, or if you want to just play with Rufus in place of one of the other characters. But then we thought the miniatures look pretty enough. So it was like, well, we'll relegate the standees back to their flat pack box and break out the three-dimensional creatures.
Yeah, because
so
a standard you get the 4 minis and then you get the standees. Yeah. You get all some lovely cards and stuff. But for the most excellent experience, we're giving away this expansion as well. As if the box wasn't enough, you're getting the expansion to go with it.
God bless Rufus.
Gotta love it.
More miniatures to paint. That's the.
I find because they're all coloured, you don't have to.
Oh, well, there you go. That's even better.
All of the heroes, the player characters, are all coloured a variety of. I'm going to go out with garish. They go from
suitably 80s colours.
Yeah, they go from lime green for Rufus through all the colours for the ladies there as well. And then the personages are just, grey. So grey and dismal and dull, like history is, as we all know, which is why they were failing it at school, because history was so grey and dull, deadly dull and boring.
Absolutely. So if you don't want to fail history, get your comments in to win the main game and the expansion. And make sure you can go and check out our unboxing. We've got a Let's Play up of it. We'll probably put them in. I know what we'll do. We'll add them on the end card. There's a wee end card comes up at the end of the show. We'll pop those videos in to give you a quick way to nip over and see them. On the topic of prizes, we haven't forgotten about the Hero Forge design your own mini sort of thing. That's just in Warren's ballpark at the minute, and he'll be giving us an update on that, on what he's doing show wise over the next few weeks. He's just clearing some space in his schedule because everything's gone. It's been a difficult year with the whole thing going on all year long. So the event, it gets in the way. Other updates, fellas. What's coming up?
Well, I've just had my second interview with Yarrow from Phalanx Games. So this time we had a look at Europe Divided. So this is the second in our monthly sort of sit-down chats. They're all about half an hour long. We are tying them kind of to games. So first one was Nantinarking, second one was Europe Divided, but then we're also getting a bit of sort of audience feedback or questions. So if you have anything you want to ask about the games that we're talking about, or about games and board games in general, because they also publish games, you can do that. We had a question from the Nantinarking about how they decide how much is too much when it comes to research into a setting, and what, you know, at what point do you need to cut it off to make a game playable. And that one question is about like a 10 or 15 minute just chat with Yarrow about the whole idea of art and research in board gaming, which was fascinating. So these go out on the first Tuesday of every month. So December's is just out this week, and I'll be sitting down soon to have a chat with them for January as well. So if you've any interest in board games and getting into it in any way, shape or form, definitely come over, because we're really keen on getting more sort of audience participation, shall we say.
And
Definitely.
If you want to know more about it, you can always hop over onto the section here. We've got, you know, /company/Phalanx Games, and you'll get the lowdown on what they're up to.
Yeah, they're really good strategy games. We've talked to them every year that we've been to UK Games Expo, finding out what they're working on. They tend to do a lot of nice stuff when they're sort of reinventing some of the classic games as well. Yeah. Like they did a Kickstarter recently for Successors, bringing that back as well, which was really good. Sort of like reinventing it and making it a lot easier to play, which is always good to see. So if you do like your sort of classic strategy board games, these guys do a fantastic range of those. So well worth checking out.
Sweet. Moving on to something that's definitely not board games. Gerry, I believe you've been beavering away on your challenge for the Path of Conquest.
My hashtag Path of Conquest. So we're just midway through the Path of Conquest. So I've got my update for my Spires in my Beatley armor. Have I made a rod for my own back with this paint scheme? Let's say maybe. But I do like how it's turning out in the grand scheme of things. Because if people are familiar with Parabellum's Path of Conquest, Last Argument of Kings, we have in the Spires a weird alien elvish type of faction. They're the elite. They're peculiar to this setting. You won't find anything similar anywhere else, and the idea behind them is they are kind of manufactured or grown. Sparks of life are stuffed into bioengineered bodies, and when you see them painted up, all of the artwork is generally sort of a bony color and then like blue sort of rags on them, and I'm going, that's very dull. I'm going to go for something different. So I went for a very samurai look, and then I thought, oh, samurai armor, it's very lacquered, shiny. And then I thought, well, they're all bioengineered. Let's make them into beetles. So as you can see, that was the first milestone. And this was the sort of bright poppy colors that I wanted to go for to sort of garner that Far East feel to them. Now you have to live with the fact that I'm not good at photography, so just suck that one up, people.
I mean, that's a good photo.
It's not bad, but it blows out the highlight and shading on the turquoise on all the robes, so they look very flat there. There is actually highlight and shading on those, but you can't really see it. But I used color flip paints to get the Beatley look, which kind of works in places. I'm still not as good at using an airbrush, so this whole thing is practice for me, because it's given me a chance to get in and try and practice a bit of airbrushing, and also to see how these things work. Because if you brush them on, you get a very different effect. And you might be able to see there that he looks quite purple in that one, but then more green in there. You can see
you can see the green tint sort of coming out between the armor plates and stuff, can't you?
Yeah. And that's just the nature of the color flip. So I have a sneaking suspicion I should have went with a more bluey purple or bluey green, so there's more of a stark contrast between them. But then I got into Milestone 2. So Milestone 1 was the sort of the biggest out of all of them, where you've got multiple regiments and a hero to do, and then I'm getting stuck into 2.
This is your entry for 2. If anybody's wondering what we're in the project system over on Tabletop, by the way. If you want to keep a project, it's very much just like keeping a blog. and it's very useful for being able to look back over what you've been doing in your project. I use it all the time just to keep a track of what I'm doing. So as I've had a break for a few weeks or months, depending on, you know, what we're up to, it's a great way of just going back and going, what was I doing?
Very true. Yeah.
Well, that's my mimetic assassin. Again, look, not a sharp line on that image. But again, look, purple and green.
I was going to say one of the things that's I did notice is that the color flip has worked. That's the main thing. Like you can see the change in colors between the different sort of areas of the armor when it's in different light and stuff, which is good.
And I suppose the motion blur filter is really helping with that too.
Yeah,
well, it is moving very fast. It is an assassin.
Yeah, he's all of a sudden his shell armor has popped open and he's just leaping over the back of that dead fellow. The dead fellow was handy because it let me test out the color scheme for the rank and file infantry that I had to do.
When you were talking about your phone costing $2,000, I was like, I'm not sure it's worth it, but this motion blur filter it has made it
all for that.
All worth $2,000, yeah.
My credit card company sent me an email the other day going, we're closing down the website, you need to use the app. And I looked at it and went, that app's not going on my phone, mate. I don't even think I could do that. It's back in the box. Yes, so Marksman, which I think are some of my favorite models out of all, and the reason I've kind of went for the samurai
really cool.
idea, because it's once I've seen these, they have the samurai longbow, that Japanese longbow, taller than a man and with that unusual sort of 1/3 to 2/3 proportion.
Yes, taller at the top.
Yeah. And once I'd seen that, I was like, oh, they are so oriental. And that's why I went, they really, really deserve some sort of poppy thing going on.
And your big tall banner bearer as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit reminiscent of the wole really tall banners that the Japanese samurai would have.
I was thinking about popping some designs on them, but the
Let's
fact
see that
that,
again.
because it is quite tall. I have been thinking about putting, you know, like the single lines or geometric shapes like diamonds or 3 dots or something, because they've got them, and also
it would really tie in then with the whole Japanese theme at that point.
I think it would kind of work for the Spires as a whole, because you kind of get that they'd be that kind of sort of like mechanical, sort of very regimented army, so it would work really nice.
So the clone actually has one of those banners.
The back banners, yeah.
But I'm not sure, because I haven't quite decided whether or not I'm going to, because if I do that, then I've got to go back in and start doing like flower designs on all the robes of the high-ranking members. Because me.
I was going to say, actually, looking sort of through the project now, and you saying that maybe it was a rod for your own back and stuff, have you found it that it's been easy to paint the scheme, or would you change a few things now? But
the hardest part is deciding to go for the color flip, because it needs to be done over gloss. And then I went for a very purple-esque skin tone.
Right, yeah.
Because it contrasts quite nicely with the ochre yellow and the turquoise that I'm using for the robes. And then red just goes in as sort of spot colors, and occasionally gold as spot colors.
Yeah.
But because I was doing that all got done first, and then the armor got painted in black, and then I gloss varnished a lot of it, and then went back in to do the color flip, which means I can't airbrush the color flip on a lot of them, because I'll hit the other underlying stuff, or I would have to do it all in gloss, color flip it, then matte it, so that then I can go back and paint the stuff that isn't going to. So there's an extra step either way that I should have avoided for speed. But I do like, because it's just very different coming out of my little red desert, my shiny beetle army. It
is very cool. It's got that kind of scarab beetle look to it, which is nice.
Especially,
and you can see how it works well on the big one there.
Yeah, the Abomination.
The Abomination.
Abomination's a ridiculous looking model. It's like a flea beetle stampede. Once I seen it, was like, there's just so many weird options here. I'm going to go for this lunatic, because often you'll see them and they're like striking or spinning or turning or punching. And I decided just to have it charging head first into somebody.
I think that works well. Because some of the times I've seen the Abomination, it has looked a little bit static, but that has done a really nice job of actually building motion into it, which is really cool. So,
and it's a weird one, because I've seen the original render by the designer.
Yeah.
And he has the rear legs reversed, so the knees point in opposite directions. And nobody I've seen on the interweb has built it like that. They've all built it with all the knees facing in the same direction.
Yeah.
But I went in, I did quite a lot of, all the skin was airbrushed on this one. And sort of you might be able to see like green shading on the skin as well. That was airbrushed in using like that. So I am using this, the whole Path of Conquest, as a opportunity to push myself and try and learn how to use an airbrush rather than just priming and clogging it up, which is how I had been for the past few years.
One of the nice things I think about the Spires in general is that it kind of it makes you think about painting things in a different way, because with the other forces, they are obviously very different from sort of traditional factions in fantasy games.
Yes.
But they all have keystones to sort of like, that's a human army, that's a dwarf army, that's a Nordic Viking army. But the Spires are just like random different stuff, which is cool. So
I mean, the other armies, if you see armor on something, then you're going to go, it's going to be metallic of some description. Whereas on these, you go, I see armor, and the armor can be whatever color I want.
Exactly.
Today I felt like going for beetle armor.
Yeah. I suppose that works nicely with their sort of lore as well, because if they're kind of like all force grown and that kind of thing.
Yeah, the fact that they're organic, I was thinking, well, why would they have metallics? Now, I have thrown in gold on occasion in places, just as a little spot. I have 2 spot colors that get used sort of rarely, which is everything has a bit of red on it. So whether it's the red sash on the marksman or the sort of top knots on the brutes and on the force grown drones. But then gold doesn't appear on everybody, but sometimes I just throw it in so the heroes have got a bit of gold, like gold weapons or the
gold bits and bobs that are dangling here.
The marksman. I did the end caps of the longbows gold. It's the
kind of like just a little flourish.
Like 2 little bits of gold, and then occasionally they've got like little sort of. I suppose they're like those hanging. They call Nico. The little carved items that samurai would have, like hanging off them.
It seems like a scheme though that's a lot of hard work. As in, we looked at Justin's project, and I would say there's as much work in this project as what Justin's done, but it was easier to see the results with what Justin had done, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's contrasting everything.
It was easier to look at it and pick out all the painted stuff, because like you say, the blues are coming out a little bit flat looking on the camera. Maybe
someday I have a light box. Maybe I'll put them in a light box someday. And work out how to take a photo in a light box.
Yeah, because I see what you're saying. You're saying they're shaded, but when you look at the turquoise, you look at it and go, it's a bit flat.
Yeah.
So that's down to the photographs.
Yeah.
I wonder if you'd be tempted to add any extra dark tones or anything to it just to try and boost that contrast. Not now, obviously you've got loads, but it would be the sort of thing maybe you'd revisit in the future.
It's a possibility. So I'm just looking at the ones over my shoulder to see. Where is Hero?
As they all gaze at you lovingly from the side.
All staring with their bows. I'm going to get you, Gerry. I'm going to get you.
One of the things I quite like about the Spires as a whole, while
maybe
Gerry
push
sort of
the highlight more, is possibly something, because when you do see the shade is there. So
one thing I was going to say about the Spires in general as well is, and you see it especially with some of their characters like the mimetic assassin and that kind of thing, is they've got that kind of neat sort of like anime vibe to them as well, which is really nice. So if you like that kind of bigger bombastic style of things, you could definitely go in and do something with that as well. So they're all holding their weapons as if they're about to like challenge someone in a duel at the end of an anime, which will then repeat a week later with a 20-minute intro. So so you can use that as the premise behind your games as well in the future.
Yeah,
very, very true.
On the topic of hashtag Path Conquest, I believe we have an interview going out, or is out, one of the two, that's detailing a wee bit more about what's happening over the winter period.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're sort of going to be doing a selection of different interviews over this sort of Christmas period, sort of throughout December, basically, looking at a lot more stuff behind the scenes about what's going on with Conquest, finding out a bit more about the game, talking to some of the people within the studio and that kind of thing. And there's also going to be some fun sort of like activities put together for sort of this period of winter as well. So if you are with us on the Path of Conquest, then make sure to go and check out that video, and which I believe Justin films with it as an interview. So
yeah,
go and check that out.
That with Leo.
So, yes. Yeah.
Cool. Which milestone are we currently on then? Are we on 3 at the minute?
We're on 3, so 4 is the next one that's due.
And that we'll be moving into that sometime in January or something, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have a bit of a break over the Christmas period so people can sit around in their fat pants and eat food and not have to worry about picking up paintbrush. Which is good because I still technically have one model left to do, which is the hero, the Biomancer. And the Biomancer's a big bug-looking fellow, and I've been trying to work out how to apply my color scheme to that model. So so I need a couple of additional weeks to work out how he's going to go, and then after that we're after that we're over the hump, and it's all downhill to the end, and hopefully some big games then at the end of it with our fully painted forces. So.
Very cool. Yeah.
Sweet. Right, Ben and Gerry. Let's get stuck into some news.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Right, so kicking off the news for this week, we're starting off with some Games Workshop stuff because they previewed even more stuff that's going up for pre-order this weekend for the Mortal Realms and Age of Sigmar. We're starting off with a new addition to the Warhammer Underworlds game, the board game, with Diachasm, which is the new addition to this, sort of building on the narrative from the previous versions of Warhammer Underworlds. In this one, carrying on from Beastgrave, which is a sentient mountain within the Mortal Realms that hungers for flesh, we find Myari's Purifiers, who are the Lumineth Realm Lords in this set, going up against the Hedonites of Slaanesh and the Hedonites of the Dread Pageant. They are trying, Myari's Purifiers are trying to pacify the mountain so that it doesn't destroy part of the Mortal Realms. But on the other side of things, the Hedonites of Slaanesh have realized that if they keep their victims alive and stop them from dying in the mountain, then it will make the mountain go into immense pain, which obviously, as followers of Slaanesh, they really like. So that's the kind of narrative that's been built up behind this storyline here. As with all of the Warhammer Underworlds boxes, it'll come with all the bits and pieces you need to get going. You'll get your boards, you'll get your pre-made starter decks for playing as each of the different factions. But if you've been playing the very competitive game of Warhammer Underworlds, then you'll be able to mix and match all the cards from previous versions as well to make the best decks possible for your particular faction of choice, be it one of the new ones or one of the older ones. We should also be seeing some fun stuff in the future for what's coming up in Warhammer Underworlds. So there's the Chaos Warband that we saw last week in the Weekender, and there's also the Seraphon, the Star Lizards, coming as well. So watch out for those too. Some very nice models in this set.
These are the minis from the box then we've just looked at.
Yes. So you've got the Lumineth Realm Lords there with Myari's Purifiers, sort of carrying over some interesting sort of aesthetics from classic Warhammer, especially with the lady with the sword.
I do like it. It's whittling down my willpower eventually. I might end up with the cow elves at this rate.
Oh no, the cow elves have taken their prize.
but with head swaps and replacements for the big cow beasties.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, and then you've also got the Hedonites of the Dread Pageant there, which are some very cool new Slaanesh miniatures. The Beastman in particular is all shades of Blanche, so John Blanche. Which I thought was very awesome. And I love all the detail they've worked into each of the sculpts too, like the scar tattoos up the leg of the champion there on the left.
And harem pants. Awesome. You very rarely see harem pants.
Exactly, yeah. The return of harem pants.
Which are very Kate Blanche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, that's it, I guess, yeah.
There we go.
But yeah,
for the Weekender, right off the bat.
Return of parachute pants. Yeah. But yeah, if you like sort of dipping your toe into Age of Sigmar, this is a pretty good way to do that because you've got really nice unique sculpts for each of the different factions of the game. And it's just a good idea to sort of dive in and play around with paint schemes and stuff. The game's pretty good as well, really quick and easy to play. I remember playing with the original core set. Games took about 20 minutes, which is crazy for a competitive little miniatures game. So
that does sound good. I haven't played this game at all. I haven't even seen it being played. But the offsetted board, is that part of the game rules then?
Yeah. So when you set up to play, you sort of roll off for who's going to place their board first, and then you choose a board from either what you've got available in the set or from previous ones, and then you lay it down, and then the other player lays down their board however they want in alignment, as long as the hexes match up. And you've only got to make it so that 3 hexes are full hexes, if you know what I mean. So you can set it offset like that one, or you can have it lengthways if you want as well. So have sort of end to end.
And can I have it L-shaped?
As long as 3 hexes are complete between the 2 boards, you can have it in any configuration you want. So you can do some maths and work out what's best for you. And because obviously that means you can make bottlenecks when you're fighting between the 2 boards, or you can make it so it's a lot more open. And then that all plays into the cards you pick for your faction as well. So as I say, it's a very, very competitive game, and it's still got a big scene. In all the different sort of clubs and stuff. Maybe not so much now, but
before the event it did.
Yeah, something like that would probably be quite good as a let's play, because it's very focused down on, you're getting close to the cameras and stuff, and the action's concise.
Yeah, I believe we do have either an unboxing or a let's play of the original box set when it came out, Shadespire.
I think it's just the unboxing.
It might just be an unboxing.
Yeah.
Then,
I play it. It's very similar to collectible card games.
Yes.
More than miniatures games, weirdly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like some sort of offspring.
Yeah, it's sort of like a game within a game, which is pretty interesting. So for you guys who like Saga, maybe something to check out. But you play your dice game and your miniatures game.
yeah, but nothing's as good as Saga.
Nothing is as good as Saga. My dice collection alone proves that.
I'm just gonna put it out there because we all think that Lloyd and Gerry are the Saga boys, right? I was the one who started talking about Saga before anyone else. All right, but anyway,
I wasn't on the show then.
That's true. Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have.
Otherwise, Gerry would have been the person. But yes, I'm just gonna put it out there, right? Okay. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, but then I beat you once, and you stopped playing Saga.
Oh no, the Justin effect.
Graceful.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. But anyway, burying that deep down in the lockbox.
It was actually pretty good though, because I alpha striked him, and then I said, "Here's how you should have done," and we set it up a different way. And I alpha striked him and went, "See now, if you'd done it this way, it'd be different. Let's rewind that." And I alpha striked him a third time.
and you wonder why.
What was that? Was that in the days before the FAQ reduced the amount of dice you got in the first turn to stop that happening?
Probably was, actually.
Yeah. I imagine that would be it.
Yeah.
But, that can't be done anymore, people, don't worry.
Yeah. Oh. Moving on from Warhammer Underworlds, we also have another sort of entry point into the Mortal Realms for you to check out as well, with the addition of more pre-orders for Warcry. So we talked about these a little bit when they were previewed as part of a larger live stream, but the guys at Games Workshop are going to be doing 4 essentially sort of codexes, rulebooks, supplements that will apply to each of the different Grand Alliances. So if you don't want to play as one of the Chaos Warbands within Warcry that came out originally, you can now find all the information for making your own smaller warband for each of the different Grand Alliances, be that Stormcast Eternals, Kharadron Overlords, the big new Oruks and that kind of thing as well. So whichever way you want to go, you can introduce those into your campaigns and stuff. And as well as having all the rules for playing out each of the individual new warbands, you'll also find in these books certain missions that can be used for your own specific campaigns. Because one of the big things about Warcry is that it has that campaign nature to it, where you get better and you gain artifacts and power as you go through, and your guys level up and that kind of thing. So they've included that as part of these books, so that you can tell your own story within each of the different factions, which is pretty cool. In addition to the books themselves, they're also going to be doing some new box sets. So there's 2 for each of the sort of side Grand Alliances. So you've got the Legions of Nagash there, which uses a handful of miniatures to almost give you a pre-made warband straight out of the box. And it'll come with all the miniatures and the cards and the tokens you need to play them, which is pretty cool. So if you want to sit down and just say, I don't want to have the sort of headache of making a warband, I'll just get one straight and run with this one. You've got that option there. There's also one for the Sylvaneth as well, and this is very, very tempting to me because I've always quite liked the look of the Sylvaneth, especially the Kurnoth hunters, the big sort of tree men with the bows and swords. They're so cool, and they'd also be really easy to paint because contrast.
Tremendously tempting, Ben.
Very good, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh god. But in addition to that, the new Catacombs starter set for Warcry also had 2 new warbands in it. So you've got the Shadowstalkers, the Kurnoth Shadowstalkers, and the Scions of the Flame. They're now available as separate boxes. If you didn't want to buy in and buy the large new starter set, you can now just buy them separately. So if you want to play as one of the factions that is aligned to Chaos in some way, then you've got the option to do that as well there with those 2 faction boxes. And topping things off for Age of Sigmar,
more stuff.
Yeah, topping things off for Age of Sigmar, we also have the Tome of Champions 2020. So this is effectively like a little bit of a Warcry annual that they've added together, and it comes with a whole bunch of different ways to play Warcry in sort of open matched and sort of more competitive play as well, which is really good. So if you want to just play it as kind of like one-off games, they've got some nice sort of options in there for you. But there's also an entire new campaign added into this as well, where it's almost like a little bit of a map-based campaign set within one of the cities of Age of Sigmar, where you're actually fighting for control of different regions. So if you're one of those people that really like the idea of playing something akin to like a Mordheim game, then you've got that option there with that sort of fighting for control of different areas of the city to sort of reap the rewards and the artifacts to, supplant your power over everyone, which is very cool. So yeah, some awesome stuff coming up for Warcry, and another sort of like smaller, tighter version of playing Age of Sigmar without having to go full bore into building a massive army. So.
It sounds interesting, the way it's a roundup of all the different ways to play. Obviously, none of them as good as playing Saga, but it's nice to have a good go at it.
A few things are.
Box set wise, I think this probably is the most exciting of them. Is it? Is this the most exciting of them?
Let's see. The trees.
Yeah, the trees.
The trees are very cool. But they are also doing a whole 4 more as well on top of this. They're just not featured in the article that they put out on the weekend. Pardon me. But there should be a few more options for you. So.
Then.
Is this stuff hitting the website soon, or what's?
So it'll all be up for pre-order this weekend. So tomorrow, when you're watching this. So yeah.
Sweet. I'm gonna plug us then. Store it on tabletop.com.
There we go. Yes, we do definitely have all this kind of stuff in there. There's also a few boxes of some of the old warbands for Warhammer Underworlds on our website. So if you've been looking at the new ones and you're like, but you like some of the older ones, go and check it out because there's 1 or 2 left. So go and check those. But yeah. Moving on from the Mortal Realms, but sticking with fantasy, but a slightly more whimsical and absurd take on fantasy. We have the Christmas releases and the December releases, I suppose, for Warp Lock Miniatures Ark World. Ooh. So if you like your fantasy with a little bit of a quirk to it, maybe a little bit sort of Discworldy, then you have some really cool options here. So they've put together a range of new releases, some of them that have come from previous Kickstarters as well. So you've got the new Imperials starter set there, which is the Albionicans. So if you like a little bit of sort of Fable-esque stuff on the tabletop, you've got that kind of vibe going through here. Some nice little touches to these guys. There's the Arcanite, which is the kind of magical stone that powers everything in this universe. It's actually used in place of flint, as you can see on some of the weapons, which is very cool.
So nice, that's what that is. I thought this was some sort of weird bird crap had landed on his head. So I was looking at it going, and I was thinking, but it's a monkey up here. It's not a bird. So I was wondering where that came from.
To be fair, in Ark World, there could potentially be just a lot of bird crap on models because that's kind of weird stuff that they do. But yeah, so
whoever's done these is freaking me out with these eyes.
I love them. They're all painted by Alex, and they're fantastic. The guy who sculpts them. It's such a weird and odd range. It's brilliant.
And a powdered monkey being a monkey.
That's exactly. Yeah. Not some boy. It's a monkey.
Not just a clever name.
But as well as the sort of Albionicans, who've got themselves some additional miniatures in terms of the dragoons here, mounted on a unicorn, because why ride a horse when you could have a horse with a freaking weapon on its head? You've got the options there, which is pretty awesome. You've also got things like halflings being thrown into the mix as well. So a lot of the stuff that was available previously through Kickstarters, you've got your nice sheep cavalry, ram cavalry, which is great. So, brilliant stuff. They're a very militant set of halflings within the world of Arcworld, which is quite right as well, because they always get seen as the fluffy ones, but they're actually more deadly than you give them credit.
I think that's GW's fault. GW started portraying them as fat.
Yes,
they're
the
fat
moot.
people who eat all the time, and they're just going, well, they used to be thieves, robbers, rogues, and if most things in the world are twice your size, you've got to be good at defending yourself, or you don't exist anymore.
Very true.
Like all those placid big dogs being chased by tiny wee angry dogs.
Exactly.
Yeah. The halflings, the chihuahuas of fantasy. Why has nobody ever thought of that before?
But as well as the additions for sort of like your more traditional races, you've also got things like the Wild Elven Centaur and a lot more Wild Elves over on their sort of like release page as well. But it's again a really nice take on elves that kind of draws on their more spiteful fey nature, which I think is really nice to see. It's something we talked about on the Weekender before when we looked at the stuff by Lucid Eye for Book of the Red King and that kind of thing. Red Book of the Elf King, sorry. But it's the collection of Wild Elves for Arcworld are some of the most tempting miniatures I've ever had the pleasure of gazing upon through the internet. And I hover over the buy button every minute, every moment I go through their web store. So they're very cool. But there's also a section of sort of like characters and personalities. So there's the Headless Horseman, for example, which is badass. Another awesome character for you to throw into your games. Talking about the actual game of Arcworld itself, it's a little bit different from what you might imagine most skirmish games to be, in that it's almost a little bit more of a like cooperative but competitive affair, in that there are stats for all the different characters and the individuals you include in your warband. But when you do certain actions, you and your opponent agree on the difficulty of tests and like what effect it should have. So it's almost like you're actually telling a bit more of a story, which I think is really nice. But when it comes to the game, and it sort of sets it apart a little bit from some of the other skirmish games out there in the kind of fantasy genre. And again, you've got things like this Tinkerer here as well, which is just brilliant. Just mad off the wall stuff that is a little bit sort of different and kind of draws you into the world and the kind of peoples that inhabit it. A little bit of Clash of the Titans there going on as well, which is cool. And as well as all the painting stuff that is a lot of it taken from previous Kickstarters and that kind of thing in the work that Alex has done, there's also some of the newer stuff as well. So you've got, for example, the Dread Piper. So if you like your folklore and sort of like that kind of myth element of things, there's a lot of stuff in there drawn from both British folklore and also a little bit of American stuff as well, and sort of European too, obviously.
So he's like an undead Pied Piper then.
Yeah. So he's summoning the rats forth. I like to think he's doing it so that he can get revenge on whoever killed him in his previous life. I like the sort of meaning behind that. But
I like to think he's just going to feed the people in demolition with the rat burgers.
Not bad. Matter of fact, it's the best burger I've had in years.
He's the guy they need to get all the rat burgers together.
There you go. Yeah,
makes sense.
But as well as the miniatures, they also did. Well, Alex has done quite a fun thing. So if anyone remembers Top Trumps,
yes,
there's now Troggle Trumps, which is their version of that. So it actually uses a bunch of the different characters and creatures from the world of Arcworld. So if you're looking for just a weird game to play over Christmas, maybe when you can't play Arcworld with your friends, maybe break this out with your family and they'll go, what on earth is this? And you're like, okay, just stick with it. It's okay. So,
but you don't even need to do that. That's the perfect internet game. We could all have a hand right now and just be playing that game.
Exactly. You could do the same. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So a perfect lockdown game. Great.
And it also reminds me of the old GW combat cards where more people bought them. So
I
they
have
had a
those,
good picture of a miniature that they could use for painting than actually play the game. Because, just being able to shuffle through and go, that's how I want that to look. And then you prop it up on your keyboard and then just get to work.
Yeah.
They were sweet. That's exactly what we had them for. Just to oogle at all the minis.
That was it.
I'm fairly sure we have a whole bunch of those decks in the studio somewhere.
There is. They're in the Weekender set. There's bunches of them. I'm trying to find a pick. Everything's eBay picks.
We'll sell them on eBay later for a fortune. Yeah.
These jobbies
there you
here.
Go. See, you didn't need to have 20 issues of White Dwarf or 4 different codices to get it. Look, there's the original.
Where the the miniature that you wanted was unfortunately in black and white for some reason. You're like, no!
Just pick up the Orc and Goblin Top Trump combat card deck and just go through it.
So if you like your whimsical fantasy, definitely go and check out what Warplock have got ready for you over this winter period. There is a lot more to come as well in the new year, so keep an eye out for that. But on the sort of sticking with fantasy, because God, I love fantasy, we also have some more stuff from Modiphius for the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms. So for those people that don't know, this is a game based on the Elder Scrolls and Skyrim in general at the moment. And you can either play this as a solo game, as a cooperative game, or as a competitive one. So you could make a warband of Draugr, for example, as you're seeing here. There are 2 new sets, the Draugr Ancients and the Draugr Guardians. So if you have delved into Bleak Falls Barrow multiple times, as many of us have, just playing through the start of the game endlessly when you make new characters, you'll be very familiar with these individuals. So if you want to build up your Draugr warband, you have the option to do so. If you're going to be playing the game solo, against the game as the Dragonborn, for example, the Dovahkiin, then these would obviously be very good fodder for you to foist upon your warband as you're battling through the snowy reaches of Skyrim. But also very good for just use in all sorts of different modes of play, which is nice.
These are quite big minis, if I remember.
They are quite chunky. Yes, they're 32 mil, but on the chunkier side of 32. So.
I look good dead. I've lost a bit of weight there. I noticed how you went straight to that one. You knew exactly what it was.
But yeah, they've all sort of been like sort of styled after the versions of them from the video game. So a lot of the concept art's been used in order to kind of bring these guys to life. I think whoever's working at Modiphius on these as well has kind of got over some of the slightly more wooden poses that we saw with the original stuff for this game, and I think these are a lot more sort of animated and they look a little bit more, well, to put in quotes, realistic, which is always good to see. So I really like how these have turned out, and I am a big fan of Draugr and sort of undead, that kind of Nordic theme, so it's very cool to see. So.
Smushing undead and Vikings together, what more do you want?
Exactly. Next, we move on to some more previews from the guys at Mantic, and because we have Gerry here with us, I'm going to let him talk about what's new for both Dead Zone and Dreadball. So.
Ooh, yes. So following on from the recent Mantic Virtual Open Day, they've gone back, and anybody who missed out, they've uploaded those videos and shown off some of the renders and bits and bobs that they put out for that. So they've moving away from Kings of War and into the sci-fi universe of Warpath. We've got some previews for the skirmish game Dead Zone and for the fantasy game Dreadball. So starting with Dead Zone, there are a new set of dwarven artificers, they're called. And if people have played Star Saga, they may have seen one of these before, because it was a hero model in Star Saga that people could actually get stuck in with. Obviously, having additional choppy arms or whirling blade discs on the back is particularly handy in a sci-fi world where you may not be able to kill enough quickly enough. So third arms are always good, and they're going to be used as a sub faction for the Forge Fathers, where the Bruckar, who already exist, which are sort of the miners, are going to be getting the artificers in as support. So while you've got your lightly armored, cheap and cheerful Bruckar dwarves kicking around the place, you'll be able to throw some of these guys in to give them a bit more impact as your elites. And yes, that mining equipment that's been repurposed is a particularly nice piece of kit. Big mining laser on one arm, and then I think it's a volcano hammer on the other. It's going to come with multiple weapons, so you'll be able to, if you're clever with magnets, you'll be able to magnetize it so you can swap it up. But I do like it. It's very alien-esque. It's that rugged industrial machinery that's been press ganged into doing a bit of work.
I like that it's got lots of pistons and things, lots of jiggery pokery that make it look like it would actually function.
Yeah, it's not just a ball socket and paint it black and hope for the best type of thing.
And it's not paneled up to the point where you can see no joints or anything.
No, it does. It has that feel like a walking JCB, something that's needed to go down into a mine on an asteroid somewhere and do the work, and then just crab its way back out again. So
I love that it's very functional and dwarvish to have been like, right, these are mining this is mining equipment, but we've made it so that it could also be used as weaponry. It's very functional. It's very good.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is that them all? So
that's all of the previews that we saw anyway from before.
Yeah.
So if you want to,
a few more on the blog now. I think if you go to the Mantic blog, you'll see a few other bits and pieces that hadn't been shown at the open day.
Here, is this it?
Possibly. I can't remember what I linked to. So.
Yes, so it is. It's on that page. So if you go down, you'll see a couple of other pieces, some head options that they're going to be doing, because the Brock are mental. And I will say they're mental. And then that one's an interesting one because we'd seen her for fantasy. But this is the thing where they've gone for the steampunky look for the vermin and ratkin so that they can sort of transmute them back and forth. So the birthing daughter will be making an appearance in the future for ratkin as well.
Which is very cool.
Yeah. So if you want a dose of these guys, like warband wise, these slot in just along with the others.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. And depending on what way they set things out, I imagine they'll be appearing in Firefighting Warpath as well. So,
but you can play Star Saga with
it. There's already one in Star Saga. There's a hero, which is where they got the idea from to expand that sort of look of essentially a forge father who forges stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
which is cool.
People who do the work
because it's Saga, but not quite Saga.
Yeah, it's Saga, but in the stars. It's a Star Saga, if you will. Well,
lovely. What else has come out?
So, moving away from combat and into the wonderful world of high-speed sports action for Dribble.
Good ball.
They have announced what they're going to be doing. Flurple is everybody's favourite, bar none.
I wasn't expecting this.
Nobody was expecting Flurple.
What are these? Are these legs?
Those are little legs, little pseudopoid legs. And we don't know what the other things are, and nobody's willing to comment on it. Possibly suckers, possibly nipples, could go either way. But people will already be familiar with this race from there's already an MVP for Dreadball called Snorkel the Avenger, who is the last of his kind, except he's not. There's nothing wrong with his kind. There's millions of them, but in the WWF wrestling kind of way, he took on this persona that he was the last of his kind and therefore must avenge everybody else. Flurple is part of their new outlook for Dreadball. There are already 28 teams.
Yeah.
So their idea going forward to support it is not to be releasing new teams. We don't need any more teams.
Yeah.
And there's already quite a lot of MVPs as well. But instead they've decided last year, or maybe the year before, they released Azure Fields, which was a campaign game on a planet, and it introduced new weather effects to play the game. And what they're going to do is do expansions where they bring in new support options for your coaching staff. So Flurple there is a water boy who will give you, like, hydrate your players, will give them a bonus success on a specific type of role. The other characters they're bringing in will do different things, so maybe you'll get dodge successes.
Is this one of the characters? Or is...
Yes, that's Bracer.
That's Bracer. So again, these could make their way into Dead Zone factions as well if you wanted. The 2Z dressed in a trench coat are my favourite coach in the world ever. Nobody's entirely certain what they did to get banned from playing, but nobody, clearly not them in a trench coat sneaking back onto the pitch to explain how things are going to go.
They give you bonuses to your distract tests, apparently, because there are two voices coming from the one coat and no one can quite understand how. And that's how they managed to confuse everybody. So,
which is a great way of doing it.
Yeah.
And then the last one there, nobody knows who's inside. I think it's Thoth. But it's both a referee and an MVP. So there are multiple ways this could be played on the tabletop, and we don't know what race is in there, although everybody at the open day decided it was 2Z, one on top of the other one's shoulders, which is just the default now for anything strange or wacky. I really like that carnival style big beak on him as well.
It is very cool. Yeah.
But what they've been talking about doing is they're going to do things like this where you can improve your coaching staff, you can tweak your team to how you want it to play, either supplement weaknesses maybe you're not particularly good at dodging, so you need somebody in there who's going to help you dodge. Or if you're already good at dodging, having bonus successes in there will push up the coaching dice that are available. So it means your gameplay becomes much more tactical. And then they're also going to do expansions where they will bring in a new world or pitch, which will change up how the game plays in some way, in the same way that Azure Forest brought in rain and weather effects. Then maybe they'll have one that's got a heavy gravity, so people are slower, or certain teams are unaffected, or maybe a 0G one. They've got different plans behind these sort of adaptations to the game where they don't have to push out a new team, but they can change how you play. And then with these, you'll get a Liverpool Istanbul final comeback. They'll have a famous match with, this happened, this was the result, here's the two teams, the historic one that you can then replay, or then that's connected with the venue that you're playing in. So it's not just a random, here's an asteroid, it's an asteroid where this happened, where this famous thing went on, and then they'll introduce little tweaks and changes to the rules so that you've got these venues, and then they can sort of spin off from there. So I think there are 4 already on the cards to go along with things like the new coaching staff and MVPs that are coming. So
I think
the
Magnetar circuit book, which is the one that's coming out, has got things like the underwater pitch, which just sounds fantastic.
Which is great for the
like a
Hammerhead
sky pitch as well. So very cool.
Because the Sith are a great looking faction anyway for Dreadball, and I like to be able to use my Hammerhead sharks. Or just saying,
sweet
swimming. Good
and our last bit of news is Carnivale stuff, is it?
Yeah, so TT Combat already do a 2-player starter set for Carnivale, but they wanted to provide people with a sort of lighter, quicker entry point into Carnivale. So this weekend, pre-orders are going to go live for this new set, which kind of gives you a sort of cut down version of everything so that you can get gaming quicker. So you still get 2 gangs in the set. You're going to have the Guild and the Rashar. Each of the models in this are unique to this set, and then obviously there's an entirely new different set of miniatures in the other starter set. So if you do have one, there's still a reason to buy the other because it comes with some really cool new models. And there's also like a new sort of unique model to this particular faction box for the Rashar as well, which is the tentacly beast that you see there too, which is very cool.
Go Sefs.
On top of the sort of gangs as well, you also get all of the terrain, the kind of like board mat as well underneath it, and the tokens and all the bits and pieces you need in order to play the game, and then a cut down version of the rulebook to get you started in it as well. So it all comes in at around, I think it was 35 quid, I think, for this new starter set, which is pretty good when it comes to
excellent buy-in, especially if you just look at the models in themselves.
Exactly.
You're getting 8 unique models, and they're fantastic looking sculpts as always. So it's one of those things, because Carnivale requires that sort of unique Venetian feel to it. It can be off-putting as an entry game if you've never played it before, don't know somebody who plays it. Whereas being able to do this, pop up the buildings because they're all cardboard that sort of folds up, folds down, and then play out a little bit of the Birmingham of the South, as I believe Venice is.
Yes,
on the tabletop is it's a bit of a no-brainer, especially because Cthulhu, who doesn't love
exactly
good ones.
Yeah. And I like that in terms of the warbands that they chose for this, because you could either go for something classically Venetian looking with the Guild, or if you do like your more Lovecraftian things, go for the Rashar and play around with them. One of the good things about Carnivale as a whole as well is that TT Combat have been doing a really good job of keeping it all updated, and they've obviously taken a lot of things from what they did with the Kickstarter to reinvent the game, and they've been adding in new faction boxes and all sorts of things for the past 2 years, something like that now. So there is a huge selection of miniatures in there. If you want to play a kind of pulpy, different sort of skirmish game on the tabletop that's a bit different from your kind of classic fantasy, which is always nice to see. So yeah, very awesome game. We've had a lot of fun with it in the past and stuff, so it's always good to see more of it on the table.
Sweet. That wraps it up news-wise this week. We'll be back in a sec. We're going to have a look at what's been going on with the Lockdown Leisure League.
Does Warhammer 40k rock your world? Check out store.ontabletop.com today. where you can save up to 20% across a wide range of hobby games, tools, and paints, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Star Wars, Flames of War, Bolt Action, and many other incredible ranges. We are based here in Northern Ireland and rated 5 out of 5 on Trustpilot.
Okay, peeps, we have Free back on the show from Wayland. Hey, Free, how's it going?
Hiya. Yeah, good, thanks. How's it going, guys?
It's going well.
Good. Yeah.
It's our time to have a look at the hashtag Lockdown Leisure League, which we were giving away. I say we were giving away vouchers from anywhere from a £5 to 50 quid for the OnTableTop store or the Wayland store to people who were doing really cool stuff and hashtagging it, Lockdown Leisure League. But I'm saying we were because it closed on the 30th of November. Oh, no. Oh. So if you've snoozed, you've lose.
That's the saying, definitely. Yep. If you've snoozed, you've lost.
The Lockdown Leisure League might be closed. We can go outside now, so there's no more lockdown.
Very true. Yeah.
Well, we're in lockdown 2 or something. No, we're in lockdown 2.5 here in Northern Ireland.
No. It never ends. It never ends.
That big is here.
Once you're in, you're never out. Typical Northern Ireland.
That's it. So, let's get a roundup. Let's see what was happening in the last week of the Lockdown Leisure League. So I'll bring it up here, peeps.
Yeah. So as always, winners were picked from social media across Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also the OnTableTop Discord and over in our thread as well. But once again, I'm going to hand it over to Free to have a little chat through some of the stuff because there were some really awesome picks from social media that got picked up this weekend. So
it's been really nice seeing cards on a desk again. It's been really nice. I feel like it's something that we've missed in lockdown, with cards on their desk.
Yes.
It's been really nice. You've got kind of Marvel Champions this week and Magic the Gathering as well. It's this one absolutely amazing where the late night players they've turned card gaming into another lockdown sport.
Exactly.
Off of a screen is a fantastic idea, and I haven't seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
So
this takes our top trumps and next levels.
Does.
Earlier on the show, we were just talking about top trumps being great for Lockdown Leisure League type stuff, and you could just play it over the internet. But this is taking it to a whole nother level.
Marvel Champions is a good game to do it with as well because it's fully cooperative, so it works really nicely for this kind of thing because you can't lie to your opponent because that would just be bad. So you're working together properly, which is really nice to see.
Actually coordinated. It's really great to see the new Age of Sigmar stuff coming out as well. So we've got Selenar painted here. This is a beautiful painting. This one.
I recognise the artist.
You do?
Yeah, Josh. They constantly crop up in our community spotlight every week as well. And Josh's stuff is amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah. The paintwork on this, especially on the feathers as well. Just the more you look at it, the more you see.
Oh my God, I didn't even realise the feathers, the tips at the end. I didn't see that. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. There must be like a camo effect, something going on because I literally didn't see it. The wing must end here.
That's the whole point. Disruptive camo on that Sphinx.
As well as that, we've had, I guess people have been inspired by last week with Blood Bowl as well, because the new Blood Bowl stuff's coming out as well, and people seem to be getting stuck into the game. So it's nice to see people brushing up with their miniatures with Blood Bowl. I love a nice picture of some miniatures in terrain. I really do love a nice image of minis in terrain, and this one is absolutely brilliant. This is, is this from? Sorry,
it was the Rise of Ruins, I believe it was.
Rise of Ruins from Warhammer. This is great. You've got your minis in the background. I just love that you've incorporated both of those together, and it's a nice thing to do.
It's one of the things that Manda, who's part of our community as well, has been doing really nicely over the last couple of months, and so, well, for actually a lot longer than that, over the last couple of years, been building up some really nice sort of terrain collections and showing off some stuff for things like, I believe it was like Fallout she's done in the past, which has been really good. And obviously it's really nice to see some more of the 40k stuff as well. And as you say, Free, seeing miniatures in situ on terrain is so cool. I always like seeing it compared to like just a big black backdrop or something. It's always nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's cool to take the grim dark and add some vegetation to it. I think more 40k tables and terrain needs vines and stuff wrapped around it. That's just so cool.
It is awesome.
It is brilliant.
Really like it.
We've got, like, Twitter has been full of kind of Warhammer stuff this week with Warhammer Underworld Nightfall as well. So again, this stuff is just I don't get to see much Warhammer Underworld Nightfall stuff. So this is just something completely abnormal to me, because you usually get the Age of Sigmars, you usually get 40k, but just seeing something different, the different miniatures coming from Warhammer, it's great. It's just, again, as I said, you don't know what's going to come up on a weekly basis, so it's just.
Is this Room Troll coming out of Warhammer?
Yeah, so that's one of the ones from, as Free was saying, Warhammer Underworlds. It was in the previous set, well, actually 2 sets ago, I think it was now, for Warhammer Underworlds. They had like a really awesome troll Moloch there that had a bunch of like squig folk that went fought alongside him.
Loongits?
Yeah, kind of like Gloomspike Gits. That was it. Yeah, that's a tough word to say.
It's almost as hard as Lockdown Leisure League, that one.
Yeah.
That's it. We've got very good. It's a shame this coming to an end.
I know, I've just learnt it. This is one of the best things. As much as I love seeing completed minis, I actually love seeing work in progress, and I love to see the start, because usually throughout, I know it's ending, but throughout the Lockdown Leisure League, people usually put what they've worked on at the beginning, and then you actually see it at the end, and just the process and what they've gone through to put into the minis it's been lovely to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Continuing down that theme of something that we've basically seen over the last couple of weeks as well, is that kind of getting people who've maybe not tried painting before doing it for the first time. And obviously we saw some people working on Driz there, I think, which was from I think what's the army painter sets, I think it is.
It is.
But later on you'll see some really nice stuff that's been done with families coming together and working on stuff, which is really nice to see. So
Well, we've got here 3D printing, is it?
I believe this is like a huge resin kit that's going to be put together for like a style battle game, which is pretty cool. So
the perspective of the small ship at the bottom, this is what stood out for me, just the difference between the two. I can imagine this is a lot bigger as well.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's very Galactica like, when you're launching your fighters off the things. Or...
Yeah. That's it.
You got to do the sound effects. You can't do it without sound effects.
Not.
Yeah.
There's no sound in space.
True.
But they were in the turbo tube. There was going to be an atmosphere in the turbo tube until they got shot out.
Yeah. I'm fairly sure that in actual fact, Starbuck and everyone just made the sounds when they came out the tubes anyway. They were they just went, yeah.
That's it.
No, but some really awesome stuff that's been done across all the different sort of avenues. Some of the things from Facebook were amazing. Like,
absolutely.
I really like the Space Wolves. I mean, I'm a big fan of Space Wolves anyway, and anything kind of Nordic is always good sell for me. But it was really nice to see Space Wolves done in a different style as well, which is good. Good to see.
The color scheme is very, very striking. Just having it in black rather than the appalling to paint blue-grey.
Yeah, I love the individuality between each miniature and this one. Each one, they've all got the same theme, and the colour scheme is so on point that each individual miniature looks so different. And I love that about this one.
And resisting the urge to put the accent colours all over it. and basically just going, you know what? One colourful shield or shoulder pad will pretty much do this, and everything else can be a much more muted palette. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really awesome. this diorama from Black Panther diorama.
Yeah.
They have put so much time and effort into this, and it really stood out as well. From the mini to the background to everything that's been put into.
I particularly like that. There's obviously the traditional sort of dark, sort of black blue of the Black Panther outfit, and then there's that kind of purple sheen that sort of is taken from the movies, and he's got the sort of like the suit that powers up and everything when he gets hit and that kind of thing with the kinetic force. So it's nice to see that sort of mixed in there too as well, which is really good. So.
I'm surprised we haven't seen more people do dioramas using things like the Marvel Crisis Protocol miniatures, because some of them have got really great poses like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And it is clearly somebody's just got, you know what? I don't even need this to game with. I really just fancy doing the Black Panther in the jungle because why not? It's very distinctive from the film, and I even like the fact that they've done the sort of muted backdrop, so you've got the jungleism disappearing off behind them.
Yeah, it's like they've painted the jungle in here in the background.
Yeah, so it's not just stopping abruptly where the twigs stop.
So the twigs are like a window into the rest of the forest. So the jungle. That's kind of cool.
It's a good use for all the things you've cleared out the garden as well. So
certainly utilising lockdown very well.
Oh, Blood and Plunder. Nice.
Blood and Plunder. Absolutely. Again, another game that I love to see. It's something that doesn't come up quite often. in terms of the more historical stuff, we get a lot of fantasy stuff come over the past couple of weeks. So Blood and Plunder, it's nice to see such a different game moving forward and people putting together their miniatures for that.
Yeah, so Blood and Plunder, like, it's cool to see that. I've got a load of Blood and Plunder back there I really should paint. I'm being put into shame now.
One of the other things you really should paint, Lloyd.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I picked it because I knew you had it lying around. Lloyd.
Yeah.
I felt that's a good way of annoying you.
I know, I really should, because even come with the bases already built in, what's the excuse not to paint them?
It's very true indeed.
I like that you've talked yourself into it now, Lloyd.
Love it. Yeah.
Process.
I'm fairly certain that he's using, I think it's those little wheels of camembert cheese.
Yeah.
Prime them on.
Let's try and work this out based on this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I was doing it based solely on the staples going in the side. It just looks like a wooden camembert box.
It does, yeah.
How tragic is that?
Anyway. To be fair, a lot more time for camembert over Christmas. Not that there's any time that you can't have camembert, but yeah, very cool.
Especially at Christmas.
Yeah. And then I had to pick these ogres for two reasons. Reason number one, oh my God, look at those colours.
Yeah.
Because they've really gone, they're converted from the regular ogres into these oriental looking oni to begin with, and then went for all of the colours. And there's nothing subtle about them, which makes sense because there's nothing subtle about playing the ogres. But also the name of the person in question was just amazing. Zambu Mafu. Let's go, well, you need to be recognised.
Very good, yeah.
There was one on that was on Facebook. It was by Mark Jacobs, but I'm pretty sure that it was not Mark Jacobs, the clothes designer. So
Shame.
I did notice that, and I was like, hold on a second, what?
Yeah. But yeah, we also had people playing through games of Infinity. Actually, there were quite a few people playing games. I see somebody else caught them on one of the other social medias, which is good because I just picked one, but I was very close to picking a couple of others that have already occurred there. But it's nice to see Infinity out on the tabletop. Mm-hmm. And those big, broad colours, unlike mine, which are all shiny bare metal and will remain shiny bare metal probably till the day I die.
Maybe, just like Lloyd, you'll get tempted to actually paint some Infinity, maybe. Gerry, when you don't have to paint lots and lots of other things, obviously. But, yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful dream, but that's all it is, man. It's a dream. But yeah, Balthazar's Infinity game was great. And then Arcadius, the Stormcast Eternal, I suppose it's one of the
another one of the Sequitors, I think it is. Sequitors, yeah.
They all look alike, the armoured peoples to me.
It's always nice seeing people paint Stormcast Eternals in something that isn't gold as well.
Yeah.
I when I tackled them, I think I painted them in kind of like a stone color, and then I've done one in blues and that kind of thing. So green's another nice choice as well. And there's so much variety now within the Stormcast that it's nice to see different color palettes used for them. So
yeah, well that wasn't the only thing Arcadius did. It was their birthday while they were in lockdown, so they sat and painted a few things. So there was also a Zinchian acolyte and a Skaven, probably a clan lord. And they were all really nice, very distinctive, three very distinctly different styles of painting, but they look great.
This is cool. This come off our forums, getting the whole family involved.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, that's one of the things we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. We mentioned at the start as well, just people getting their family involved, painting and stuff like that. And as Big Hagar said, like, sit down and get them started young, get them painting your miniatures for you.
Yep.
You'll have them working on your arms in no time when you've got all the old arthritis sitting in and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea. I never thought of that. Just using it as a painting force.
Yeah. Well, I also had to give props here as well to Greystoke and his kid for obviously playing through some Dark Souls, which is a challenging game. But sitting there and doing it in a Chewbacca onesie is even better. So
I was just about to give compliments on the Wookiee hoodie. Yeah.
And you know what? You have to let the Wookiee win.
Yeah, and we finish off with a couple of interesting little character pieces and stuff. So we've got some wizards that are sort of primed and ready to go into Frostgrave, which is obviously cool with the new edition of that game coming out, which is always nice to see. And then I believe it was, yes, here we go. So we've got a Stone Priestess as well by 144 Artist, who is a prolific painter within our community and should definitely get more props, and I'm sure he will, for all the work he does. An amazing Birds and Badgers painter. Ding.
Oh, well, then I smell golden buttons coming up then.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, a really awesome looking character. Someone who actually managed to get all the detail worked into the face, which is something I never do. So yeah.
Let's get a close up of that. Impressed by this. You got a point, actually. The face is very expressive there, isn't it?
It is very good, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of the Lockdown Leisure League. It's been a nice journey for a month, peeps. Perhaps we'll do it again in Lockdown 46.
Lockdown Mark 220.
Who knows? Well, Free, thank you very much for coming on the show. We're not keeping you any longer considering you're actually allowed outside.
I know.
Whereas we're all inside. Well, Ben can go outside.
Well, Ben can go outside. He's just not allowed.
It's like the great divide down the middle of the screen where half of us are inside and half of us are outside. Right, peeps. Well, great to see all the winners. Congratulations. Look forward to seeing what you're doing with all your stuff going forward in the future. Right, chat?
I was going to say, just quickly before we move on, just because the Lockdown Leisure League has finished doesn't mean that you should stop sharing your stuff on social media.
Yeah, you should probably just keep doing hashtag Lockdown Leisure
just keep
League.
doing it and just showing off.
Don't worry, there've been some workers appearing on the Discord whenever it finished, and I was just like, oh, if only you were there a day earlier.
Because even though you won't be able to win lovely golden vouchers, it's still really nice seeing what you're doing. And of course, we have the project system over on Tabletop, which you can go and use to show off all your stuff that you've been working on, that kind of thing as well. So keep sharing, because it keeps everyone who is still in lockdown, like the guys over there, thinking about what they're going to paint next. So.
It's a good point, because if you get into the project systems, you have a good chance of winning one of our coveted golden buttons. You can't spend it, but it's still pretty sweet.
It's bragging rights. That's what it is.
Worth internet points, and surely that's the most important thing of all.
Cool. Right, let's get stuck into some fundraisers and see what's going on.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Okay, it's time to talk about some fundraisers. And usually we end up talking about Kickstarters mostly. And this first thing we're going to look at was due to be a Kickstarter, but it has switched platforms.
Yes.
What are we talking about, Ben?
So this is something obviously very fit for the season we're currently in, the festive season and the Christmas roll-up. And this is from Raging Heroes. And they have put together a Christmas-themed fantasy fundraiser, which is called A Wizard's Christmas.
We've got some sort of teaser here. Let me see what's in this. Ooh,
basically, the kind of
it literally is a teaser.
Yes, it's just a teaser.
You could just let it play.
Yeah.
Here's something important. It was a Kickstarter. It's now not a Kickstarter, because I just saw Kickstarter on the screen there.
Yes, so it was originally going to be on the 1st of December. It has now moved platforms and moved dates.
Yes, so it should be live as you're watching this. We hope. So,
as far as we know, it's running from the 4th.
Yeah, and it's running up until the 11th of December, and then should be delivering on the 12th, because the whole focus behind this particular project is that it's all going to be allowing you to make fantastic 3D printed Christmas-themed decorations and bits and pieces for you to use to kind of add that sort of slightly more geeky sort of ambiance to your Christmas setup.
Yeah,
so
I have some here.
Yeah, so they have... Yeah, so Justin's printed off one of them, which is like a ring.
We'll get a look at Justin's ring in a minute. If we start with these dice and stuff, we'll just go through the original previews here.
Yeah, so the original previews for a lot of things that would be traditionally associated with Christmas. So you've got things like baubles and decorations that you can hang up. And there are those that have been designed so that they are very, very fantasy based. So for example, you had like kind of the bad elves that we saw earlier. And then there are slightly more traditional Christmas decorations. So for example, the Gothic bauble again has that kind of fantasy flair to it, but it also makes a good piece just for in general. And then you've got things that are very good for kids as well that I assumed would be really nice to print off and then maybe get your kids to paint over the holiday period, which would be kind of fun.
So when you say print off, that's why it's happening so quickly, because it's all STLs and it's
all STL files that will be delivered to you. The other sort of elements to this as well that we just saw there as we went through those pictures is that obviously the kind of basis behind this is it's a wizard's Christmas. So maybe if you wanted to set up a really interesting sort of Hogwartsy sort of themed Christmas for your family, then there are also some additional things like sort of wands and artifacts and things like that you could dot around the house that you could use as part of a nice sort of adventure that you're playing out with everyone, which would be pretty awesome.
I'll tell you what, if you've got the time and you've got the resin or the plastic to do it, covering your Christmas tree and stuff like this, it'd be so much cooler than the crap you buy up the street.
Exactly.
Well, I will say, so you see this one here.
Well, let me embed you, Dustin. You've been trying to show us your ball there for ages. Let's see.
But this one here, I actually really like because the way they've done it, they've actually pre-scaffolded this for you.
Now, you got sent some STLs to try out then?
I did. So I got a little set. So I got this Christmas bauble. Yeah. This one came pre-scaffolded into it because you see the way it's hollow on the inside.
Yeah.
So they did all of the scaffolding on this already for you, so it's not the major headache that you normally have. I don't know if that's for a lot of these, but it was good for this one that I have.
I think I have some stills and stuff have we got a still of that? Is this the one you're talking about? Let me see if I can bring this up.
So that one was really interesting to print and really easy to print. All of these came out on the first shot off of a single bed. So the next one is the monster ball.
Well, hold on. Here is exactly what came off the bed then.
Yeah.
So you've done this in 2 different sets of 3D printers by the looks of it then?
Yeah, so that's kind of deliberate. So all of the baubles, the miniature, and the ring, I did on a resin printer.
Yeah.
I did the cookie cutters on the PLA printer because I didn't think anyone would want to risk using a cookie cutter that came out of a resin printer in case there was like any residue or anything off that you were then baking into your cookies.
Who knows? You want to flash your ring there? Oh, hold on. I seem to have lost you. Let me try and get you back. Let me bring you up. You've got this ring on.
Oh, yeah. So the ring.
Go Planet.
It's actually perfectly sized for me. I don't know who's in there, but apparently they've been paying very close attention to the size of my hands.
Gerry was right. Gerry was saying you look like an extra from Go Planet. Captain Planet.
Yeah,
that's it.
This was very cool, and I like the idea that there's a few different types of these. I will say this was super easy to set up in the printer because I did just set it up, sitting like that, put the scaffold on, and it ran out perfectly in one shot. Same for everything else. Yeah. Even this, which is a little Toughest Girls of the Galaxy kind of miniature, she came out beautifully, and all I did was I put it onto the bed, tilted it back slightly, and then just let it do its scaffolding work, and it was so easy. Yeah. And I from what I'm seeing in the page, there's like multiple types of these.
There are, yeah. There's a couple of different designs, and they're also hoping that as the more money is poured into the fundraiser, they'll be able to unlock additional sort of versions of these as well, which is cool. So
yeah, that's very cool. Now, this one I did notice one little thing that you might want to do in your slicer program, and that's maybe put like a little pinhole or something into it, because inside of this one, as it stands, it's actually filled with resin.
Yeah. So is it jiggling about?
Yeah, there's a bubble and liquid resin on the inside of that. So I don't know, maybe you might want to just dig a little hole into the structure and hollow it out to let it go. The ring, again, came out beautifully, and some of the details they put into it were just mind-blowing.
It is really nice, that one. That's really cool.
Yeah, that, and if you're worried about the ring being able to fit yourself, you can just rescale them in the 3D printer. Mm-hmm. So you can make it however big you want.
There's the Christmas miniature as well. So.
Yeah, well, one of the Christmas miniatures.
Of them, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
And again, whenever I first saw this, I thought, "Oh my God, that's quite complicated. That's quite delicate. How am I going to do that?" But it worked, not a problem.
We've talked a little bit about some of the tips and things for using the 3D printers here, obviously, but I believe what they're going to do on the page when it actually goes live as well, or as it is live, you'll also find lots of information about how to print it off at home as well. So. It should be a nice sort of idiot-proof guide, I guess you'd say. So,
well, honestly, if you've been looking for something festive to throw into your 3D printer to have a little fun with your family, these are great. I mean, I love the idea of the cookie cutters, and again, you can rescale these to whatever size you want, you know. So I just printed them as they came. They're like 50 mil, but there's nothing to say you couldn't make bigger cookies. Make the biggest cookies.
The biggest cookies. The entire baking tray. Whoa!
All the cookies. All the cookies.
No, but it's nice to see that Raging Heroes are doing something a little bit different for everyone. Because obviously a lot of their time has been spent doing miniatures, and obviously they've been doing that really well. Another thing to bear in mind as well is that with a lot of times when you come to a 3D printing Kickstarter, you're not entirely sure how it's all going to turn out. Obviously, we've got some examples here, but the guys at Raging Heroes have been doing their 3D printing Patreon for almost a year now, which is pretty good. And they seem to have cracked the sort of building of the files and that kind of thing as well. So bear that in mind if you're thinking about, should I get involved?
I like this bauble here.
This is nice. Yeah.
That'd be really cool. If you've got the time, this stuff would be really cool. We didn't see an example of this one then.
No, we didn't get sent that one as an example, but it's a very cool idea. And I mean, like, the scaffolding for that wouldn't be absolutely horrible, because you see just the gap in between. That's probably the only point you would get your scaffolding on there, just for the way the print works.
Yeah, I believe as part of what they're going to be doing with the fundraiser as well, one of the Gothic baubles is going to be available to as a free download as well. So
that's cool.
if you want to just try it out, one of the Gothic ones is going to be free. So if you want to try it out and see what you think, dive in and give that one a go. And then if you like how it turns out, maybe pledge for the rest of it as well. So.
I'm kind of liking the idea that you can get yourself some wands as well.
That's what they are, wands.
Wands and crowns.
I thought it might be letter openers for a minute, and I was like, no, they're too wavy for that. Oh, wands.
As I said, if you're planning to do a proper
they even did flying keys.
Yep. Yeah. So
that's a really nice touch.
If you're planning to do a proper wizarding Christmas, and actually have a lot of fun with kind of like games and stuff over the Christmas period, it's a pretty nice little set.
No, I have a couple of friends who go to College of Wizardry that would absolutely adore this.
Yeah. Very nice stuff indeed.
Yeah, definitely the bauble stuff's my favorites.
I love the monster balls. They're very cool.
They are cool. Yeah.
Right. What's up next then, chaps?
So next we are actually heading to Kickstarter. And this is a more traditionally sculpted endeavor called the Gnomes of Agalder's Keep. So this is from the fantastic folks at Northumbrian Tin Soldier, who do some amazing miniatures that are a little bit quirky, a little bit wee, a little bit woo. And these are their range of gnomes that you could be using in your fantasy war games, skirmish games, role-playing games, and more.
Funded. So that's good.
Yeah.
Not very many left. Not very many days left to go though. So it's about 7 days from when you're seeing it.
You have a week to throw your money at them.
Exactly. The focus of these is a little bit like what they've done with their previous Kickstarters for like the Cats of Crumptown and that kind of thing, where you'll get a box set of miniatures for you to use in your games. They're all very different, but they tend to have sort of applied the sort of classic fantasy classes, I suppose you'd say. So a lot of these, so you've got your fighters, your rogues, your mages and that kind of thing sort of built into this, which is really cool. And in addition to the fact that there's gnomes in this, there's also a bunch of like toads and frogs, which is awesome as well. So it's a very eclectic mix of very characterful miniatures, which I always like when it comes to the Northumbrian range.
Oh, I love the Jugger gnome.
No, you don't want to be the guy underneath though, because like there's no going to the toilet. That's locked. That's all locked in. There's no escape. Oh no.
Well, just clearly you go before you go to battle.
No, you're fine. There's probably a hatch below to just drop it out.
Yeah, but what about the guy on top?
Yeah, and again, one for him too.
There'll be a complex
sluice out the back. It'll be fine.
A sluice and some tubes.
Funnel and some tubes. Okay.
Gnomes are very, very ingenious.
Yeah.
They have missed a trick though. Surely he should have holes for his legs to come out, and then they would have 8 limbs that could attack people.
It doesn't have the reach to kick people in the face though.
Yeah, that's
true. What if you get really close?
No.
Use the double-ended maul.
Here's a question. His arms are so short.
Yes.
Could he possibly reach across to like load the crossbow?
No, you're thinking about this wrong. You're thinking about this realistically.
Yes.
The whole point of this is these are gnomes. Fighting gnomes.
Because gnomes.
And they're amazing. I mean, the Jugger gnome's okay, but the elder with Nutkins, the squirrel, is amazeballs.
Nutkins.
We know how Gerry likes squirrels, so
Yeah.
See the resemblance.
Yeah. And that shroom, he's so amused.
He's very amused.
I'll guarantee you the Elder Gnome just farted.
One of the things about the sort of this range of gnomes that you've got from Northumbrian here is that they works really nicely alongside what they've already done as well.
Yeah.
They already have quite a whimsical collection of the night folk and stuff that they do, which is elves and dwarves and wizards and strange, weird creatures and that kind of thing. So if you like your fantasy to be a bit off the wall, there are plenty of nice ways to dive in and sort of expand that collection here.
A bit like that Ark-worldy stuff we were looking at.
Yeah, a bit like with Ark-World, it's providing fantasy through a lens of a little bit of sort of absurdism, which is always nice to see. So,
and like the Cats of Crumpton, there is a 5th edition D&D scenario for these guys. So these will all exist within that one world that they've built, because everything is there. It may all look oddball and disparate when you're looking at them, from the night folk to the cats to the gnomes, but it's because they all inhabit their own little pieces of the world.
Yes. Yeah.
I love the fact that there's one of them running with what's essentially a great sword, which is probably just a long sword for a regular human.
Yes,
that's the knight with the G. The good night.
Yeah.
Or a letter opener.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
Yeah, but
it's a terrific set.
As someone who likes seeing people do traditional sculpting stuff, as well as the 3D printing, which is always nice to see. But
what's going on here, though?
He's
Ben?
casting a toad.
Yes, but is that a transparent printed thing, or is it just been painted weird, or
just been painted?
Just been painted.
Oh,
it's amazing what you do with like a paint. It's good, isn't it?
That's cool. That's like shading in reverse.
But yeah, as I was saying, as someone who really likes the slightly quirky and weird kind of not freehand sculpting, but hand sculpted miniatures in a traditional sense, it's really nice to see people continue to do that through Kickstarter. And it means that you get lots of nice, unique looking characters for your games.
This has to be my favorite. Look, he's got legs. It's amazing.
See, I'm kind of happy Warren isn't here, because he would just be creasing himself because it's toadstools.
Ever since that happened on the Weekender, when we showed off what I've been doing with, like, I think it was when I'd been to a Burrs and Batters event.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who runs that routinely sends me pictures of miniature mushrooms and going, I bet Warren would like this. I bet Warren would like this. Yeah.
Are you just saving them for like Warren's birthday or something? You know,
yes,
it's Warren's birthday coming up on the show. Hey, Warren, here's my gift, the gift of laughter.
I'll bet Warren would like this, and hence get me on the Weekender.
Way to do it.
Yeah. Smashing.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea, and it's quite quirky.
Yes, that's the thing I really like about this. Quirky is always nice.
It's totally unique.
For God's sake.
If people need to get their hands on them sooner than the Kickstarter, then they can always just go and get some of the night folk or the beard folk from Northumbrian to tide them over while they're waiting. Because they have that froggy theme runs through some of the other gnomish and dwarven folk that already exist.
Sweet. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So, peeps, if you want to decorate your Christmas tree, watch out for that other thing that should be live, but we don't necessarily know where it'll be live. So if you're looking for it, come on over to OnTableTop.com. We'll probably have a post about it, and then they'll follow the link through to wherever the heck it actually ended up being.
There'll be some links in the show notes and everything, so just watch out for that if you're interested. So.
Yep, and if you want to scratch that no Mitch, off you go. I'm going to wrap us up, peeps, because we've got an XLBS. If you've enjoyed the show, come on over to OnTableTop.com, get yourself a free account for a 30-day free trial. You can pop into the XLBS with us on Sunday, where we talk all about all sorts of hobby stuff, including what we're doing, what you're doing. It's a great continuation of the weekend. Keeps it rocking, keeps it all gaming. And remember to get your comment, your sub, and your like in to win that cool Bill and Ted Most Excellent Board Game. Right, peeps? Oh, it's been nice to have you on the show, Mr. Tasty, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.